Namaste everyone. Har Har Mahadev. Welcome back to my channel. Now, today we are going to talk about Venus, Shukra, right? So, Venus through all the 12 houses. But before that, we need to understand what Shukra is and what does it represent. Although I have already made a video on what does Venus represent in your natal chart, but this will definitely be an additional information to it. You can refer to the link in the description box of that video. You can go and watch that first and then come back to this and know about more information about your Shukra. All right. So before we move ahead, if you guys are new to my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get regular updates. For your personal readings, it's www.anmolastrology.com. Under the readings and unique readings section, you can book a personal reading for yourself. Under the courses section, you can sign up for online courses. And all the online courses do contain the personal assistance from me and also followed up by doubt sessions, which will be conducted over Zoom, right? So let's get started with this video. So, what does Shukra represents in your chart? I have numerously told this that Shukra just, it doesn't just represent your spouse, although that's the first and foremost feature that everyone is looking for. So Venus represents your spouse. It represents the traits of your partner, the theme of your marriage, how you're going to meet your partner potentially. Everything is represented by Shukra despite of your seventh house lord. That is, of course, very, very important, your seventh house condition and the seventh lord. But Shukra alone has the ability to answer a lot of questions in regards of your spouse, right? But apart from this, Shukra is your soul, the way your soul, establishes a relationship in this universe. That's what Shukra is. It's not typically your soul, that's your Surya. But Shukra is the planet which makes you establish a relationship with a particular area of your life. That's what Shukra is. So Shukra basically, when comes into a house, it represents so many things. Shukra is luxury. Shukra is arts. It's creativity. So wherever Shukra is placed, that is the house from where where you always want to beautify things. You would always want to beautify that house, and your creative skill, your creativity, your artistic nature would actually be dependent on that house. That house you will always, try to make beautiful. Venus, wherever it is placed, that's the area where you want to be loved, where you want to experience the pleasure, from where you want to experience the comfort, right? Venus position would also represent where your income would generate from or where your wealth generation occurs. It's not the wealth that makes you, complete the daily needs, but Shukra's placement is the placement which creates wealth and legacy. And Shukra is associated with two elements. It's a Rajasic planet. Shukra's significance by coming into this universe is to have the enjoyment, right? But along with that, and that's why it is associated with earth. Because when you are associated with the earth element, that means you want to enjoy all the comforts, everything that is materialistically available on this plane. But Shukra is also the water tattva. Shukra is the most emotional planet. Even I would say very close or even two steps ahead to the moon. So wherever Shukra is, your devotion lies there. Your sensitivity lies there. Shukra's placement would show how you are going to transition emotionally. That is the area from where you will feel your, your emotions to the core. The kind of emotions which can make you cry. That's what Shukra is. Just understand Shukra to be the teardrop, just like Purva Ashad. That's ruled by Shukra. So, Venus, wherever it is placed, that also signifies your fears of abandonment, your fears of rejection. You would always try to have validation and assurance from the living significance or from the significance of that area wherever your Shukra is placed. Venus naturally rules the second and the seventh house. So it's a representator of your traditions. It's the representator of your lifestyle. It's the representator of your wealth. It's representator of what you would like to accumulate. What do you want to possess in your life? What do you want to call your possessions? Like, for example, in the seventh house, Venus, your possession is actually the people that you know. It's actually your rishte, it's your relationships. Venus in the second house, you are a person who loves to collect collectibles or luxury items. Venus in the third house, your skills are your possessions, they are your strength. Anything that makes you feel beautiful, anything that makes you feel that yes, you are in a comfort space, you're comforted by something, that is Shukra. Now just understand the fact that when this Shukra is debilitated, or suppose I wouldn't say debilitated, but it's hemmed between planets, it's afflicted, then it creates self-victimization onto that area. It makes you too cautious and careful and too fearful about that area, fear of rejection from that area. So it makes all the emotions go toxic. And that's not in your control. That's not like it's a part of your nature. It's not that you have made it. It's just that the things in your surroundings, the relationships that you have seen in your surroundings that have basically given you that thought process. Because Shukra would represent what desires you have taken forward from your past life. What desires in regards of relationship you have brought in this life from your past life. What karma related to relationships you have brought in this life. That's what Shukra represents. So, Shukra, from wherever it is placed, that's where your wealth would generate from. That's where you would seek validation. That's where you will try to create your comforts. And Shukra, wherever it is placed, that's the area where you will feel the most lazy because you're comforted there. Only if this Shukra is afflicted, you would not feel lazy about that. Like, for example, Venus in the second house or Venus in any of the houses in Taurus, Venus in the 10th house or any of the houses in Capricorn. You definitely want to establish a legacy for yourself. You definitely want to enjoy the life, the pleasures, the comforts, the materialistic aspects available in life. If this Shukra is afflicted, you will be willing to work to create those desires, to complete those desires. If this Shukra is unafflicted, it's either that you get that easily from, if someone is your provider, it can be your parents, it can be your spouse, but you would lack the effort towards it. If it is unafflicted, because Shukra is laziness. It's exalted in the 12th house, the house of your bed. Shukra wants to relax. Shukra doesn't want to go out and work in a market space. That's why it is debilitated in the sixth house. It wants to enjoy and relax. That's what Shukra desires. So wherever Shukra is placed, that is where the soul seeks the ability to be loved, to be comforted, to find their happiness from. Now, another thing, Shukra is the guru of the Asuras. So it makes you learn the aspects of reality in a way, like, for example, in Hindi, we call it as dunyadari. You would have understood this concept, dunyadari, rishtedari. That's what Shukra makes you realize and value. Wherever Shukra is placed, it will want you to establish a relationship with that house. It would want you to value that house. And how that happens? Whenever a transit would happen over Shukra, whenever there is activation of Shukra, as in Dasha, Antardasha, Pratyantar Dasha, or whenever activation, I mean through the transit of Ketu, Jupiter, Saturn, Rahu, then you would actually go through deep, I won't say transformation, but deep hurt, where you will feel your emotions, whether they are hidden, whether they are unacknowledged, you will acknowledge them, you will feel them. And that's how you transition. That's how you learn what this world is about. That's what we call as dunyadari. That's when you learn how do you need to manage your relationships with maturity. And that most of all also happens in the 25th and 26th of age, especially for the ones whose Shukra is afflicted. Another thing about Shukra, wherever Shukra is placed, your mind, your attention, your energy will always go seventh from itself. Always. That's why Shukra's placement is the one where you would try to establish diplomacy, where you would try to dominate, not in a way of forceful domination as Mars, not in the way of motherly dominance or strictness like Moon, but a dominance where where you try to dominate someone, but if they retaliate, you are the one who gets scared. That's the kind of dominance that you establish wherever Shukra is placed. And opposite to it is where most of your energy goes. Most of your energy is deviated. That's why wherever Shukra is placed, the living significance of that house will easily get offended from you if attention is not received, because the living significance of that house would always require your love, attention, and wants to be your first and foremost priority. Because the zodiac sign of Taurus, which is ruled by Shukra, that decides and makes you realize what is the importance of prioritizing your values and wants first. Another thing that I've personally observed with the charts is that wherever Venus is placed, that's the area where you would always want to favor that area. Even if internally you know that, like, for example, if your Venus is in the seventh house, internally you know that your spouse is not doing something right, still you would favor them. Still, because see, Shukra is the planet of your devotion. It's the planet of your adjustment, right? It's the planet of bringing in balance. It is also the the planet of compromise and negotiation because it rules the natural sign of Libra, natural seventh house. So, with the placement of Shukra, you'll always feel now things will get better. Now things will get better because you're trying to balance that area. You're trying to bring in balance into that area. Your karma is to bring in balance. Your karma is to improve that area, not leave that area. Libra is where Saturn gets exalted. So you cannot leave the suffering of that area. You cannot ignore that area, but you slowly improve that area. You bring in balance into that area. So I've seen favorism with Shukra's placement. I've seen that you would know that maybe this person is not doing something right. This person is being diplomatic, they're being manipulative. You will still favor them. I'm not talking about internally you're favoring them, but externally, in the front of suppose someone else, you would always try to favor them. And sometimes when this Shukra is afflicted, you always try to fill in the gaps of emotional emptiness. Because where Shukra is, you desire unionship there. You desire relationship there. You cannot live without relationship. For a person with Shukra in the first house, in the seventh house, they can never live without a unionship or a relationship. Because Venus always makes you attached to that house, to that person. That's why Venus is attachment. If this Venus is afflicted, it's obsession. It's the negative attachment. So you see how we basically differentiate our placement. It's very important to know that. So many people, many of you can feel that some of the things that I say, it may or may not resonate with you. But just have an open perspective and think for yourself that what kind of condition of your Shukra you have in your natal chart. If it is all good, you will actually resonate 100%. Because I'm trying to give the fundamental predictions here. It's not personalized, it's generalized. But if you know that your placement is afflicted, then just twist it yourself, and you would understand why it is like that. All right. Now, I have a few points that I have written, and I do not want to miss anything. So, I'm going to read them out loud. So, Venus is the Rajasic planet, also has the earth and the water element. It seeks balance. Venus is Dunyadari. It wherever Venus is placed, you want to be loved from that house. Venus placement will teach you because Venus is the guru of the asuras. It is the guru itself. Your legacy would also be dependent upon the area where Shukra is placed, and especially Venus in water zodiac signs and the moksha houses. It's the legacy creator. The living significance will always desire love and attention, otherwise, they can get offended easily. Income comes from there, diplomacy is there, needs validation from that house, fear of rejection from that house, laziness since you desire comforts, pleasure, happiness from there, dependency and devotion to that house, past life attachment. You would always want to beautify that house. You will go through karma through attachment. So whenever the transit over Venus happens, Venus gets activated, you will feel the churning of yourself, of emotions through attachment. Attachment would be the catalyst of your transformation and understanding how to be mature in relationships. always try to favor that house. Capability of a soul to receive beauty, love, comfort, and blessings from that house. Afflicted Venus means constant struggle to fill emotional emptiness through pleasure, validation, or relationships. Your soul establishes a relationship with that house. The ability, Venus represents the ability to adjust, balance, and compromise. Expression of love and attachment, what you deeply value, that is Shukra's placement. Where you seek harmony, that is Shukra's placement. The major theme of meeting your spouse. So, a part of all these things which are karmically related to you, the biggest karma with Venus placement is how you would meet your spouse. What are going to be the traits of your spouse? What is going to be the focus of your life through marriage, through relationships? How the theme of your marriage and relationship would go ahead. That is what Shukra represents in regards of your spouse. And if Venus is your Dharakarka, if Venus is your seventh lord, in those cases, Venus would 100% represent the traits of your spouse, the appearance of your spouse, and everything else, even the possible profession of your spouse as well. All right. The major theme of meeting one's spouse, desire you carry from the past life, good conditioned Venus would create devotion, grace, divine love. Afflicted Venus would create fear, attachment, dependency, and calculativeness. The spiritual lesson behind Venus, that is, a strong Venus will make you feel inner fulfillment, and a weak Venus would make you seek fulfillment through temporary desire or temporary pleasure. All right. So that was all that I had in regards of Shukra. What does it represent when it comes to a house? Now let's talk about when Venus is in a particular house from 1 to the 12 houses. So now Venus in the first house. The first house Venus naturally means that the second and the seventh lord is coming into the first house, and right opposite to it is where your energy executes. So a person is always concerned about the partner. A person a person's personality is established through their relationships. A person with with Venus in the first house, they would always desire to be in a unionship. They would always desire to seek balance. Their devotion lies with self, and rather they should be devoted to their health, to their self. The more they are devoted towards establishment of their personality, towards strengthening their own mind and soul, the more they are going to flourish in life. Venus in the first house, naturally the person loves to possess their, pride, prestige. These people love to attract other people's attention. The more they are admired, that's the wealth that they desire and they love to have. They love admiration, validation from the other people. Now, this sort of validation, what I said, is not anything wrong or negative. Like, only if the other person will validate, only then they would feel complete. That is only in the case when Venus is afflicted, or or the first lord is not nicely placed. Only then they would seek for other people's validation and the family's validation, so as to basically feel better in life. But a person with Venus in the first house can even be a very strong minded individual and self-sufficient individual, because their love and happiness comes from themselves. When they are of use, they are, I won't say productive, but when they are doing something with their personality, they are able to grab the attention of the surroundings. And definitely these are the most stunning individuals. They would have such a strong and beautiful presence. Wherever they go, they just attract others. That's the kind of presence, beauty, and you know aura these people have. They are super creative. They are very well devoted to whatever they do. And one thing which is you can consider a shadow side to Venus in the first house is that they doubt a lot. They will doubt everything, especially when it is associated with their partner, because Venus also carries fear of rejection. It also carries the fear of be left alone. That's why a person with Venus in the first house, they will always have a sense of doubt towards their partner, because they cannot just digest their partner to not give them attention or to prioritize anyone else. And they get offended very, very easily. Very easily. You don't give them attention. You just ignore one thing that they say, and they are going to just they're just going to be offended, and their way of being offended is that they'll start, it's not margin, but it's kind of a little getting, trying to put in a fight, trying to do something to grab your attention, because Venus also attracts drama, right? So Venus in the first house, in regards of your spouse, you would always be influenced by your relationships. Your spouse would be a very commanding and individualistic person. There are chances that you meet your spouse first time in physical, right? Like not online, not anywhere else, but you meet your spouse as a physical meeting, because it's in the domain of Aries, right? You love to collect the things that you love. Your partner would be very, very competitive, very helpful, and would always try to do, things which basically feeds them their soul. They are going to be very passionate, and even the karma of you through your marriage is to understand yourself better, to identify and establish your own self, your own pride, your own identity. And your marriage is always going to help you with that. You would see, as soon as you get married, your creative self blooms, your fortune rises. You're never deprived of luxury, you're never deprived of money. That's because the natural second lord is coming into the first house. So that's what Venus in the first house represents. But with Venus in the first house, they would definitely desire constant validation. If it is afflicted, then in a obsessive manner. If and they can also, if this Venus is afflicted, they can self victimize a lot. But if this is in a good position, the ascendant lord is in dignity, then they would turn themselves into strong personality. They might be self victimizing whenever there is a transit or whenever Venus is activated, but they would transition into a stronger person who would understand how to deal with relationships, how to bring in balance, how to create happiness for themselves, how to create comforts for themselves. All right. Now, Venus in the second house. So it's said that Venus, when is in the second house, a person is born with a silver spoon. And it indeed is very true. But in very less cases, you will see that Venus in the second house may not give you that amount of wealth. For that, check your KP chart. Maybe this Venus is shifting somewhere else. Check which planet is placed with it. Check the dignity of the second house. That's important. But when Venus is in the second house, a person desires to create wealth. They cannot live without a particular lifestyle that they have decided for themselves. See, it can be as lavish as possible. It can be to a enough level as well. That depends on how your individual Venus is placed. But definitely, these people are sweet talkers. They indeed, some people with Venus in the second house and maybe Moon is also aspecting. They love sweets. They are sweet lovers. That's why I always tell them, and especially if it is Sun and Venus, I always tell them be careful with over indulging into sweets and everything, right? If this Venus is suppose somehow conjunct and associated with Mars, this can be the other way around. A person can be neutral to having their inclination towards sweet tooth. They can be about savory as well, right? So Venus in the second house, your devotion lies towards wealth, security, and family traditions. So, Venus in the second house, they would present a very luxurious and modern side to them in the society, but internally, these people are as traditional as they can get. They love to value their family, they love to value money. Right? These are the people who you may see that they have all the nicest things, all the luxury brand clothes, bags, and even a very good car. But these people do not like to waste money. They would value, they love to have a good lifestyle, at the same time, value the money also. In their relationships, they definitely desire security. That becomes extremely important for them. Security is the first priority for them. These people are artistic. These people are artistic and very sweet with the voice as well. They love to create. They love to create something artistic and creative using their speech, right? They definitely are foodie people, absolute love for food and also drinks. Those drinks can be any sort of drinks. It can be alcohol, definitely, it can be alcohol, or it can be other exotic drinks as well. But they definitely have that interest. All right. With Venus in the second house, you require the validation from your family, right? You fear being apart from your family because your family and the kind of upbringing you have had, the kind of lifestyle you have had while growing up, you fear losing it all. So that's why a person is always inclined towards how they can accumulate money. These are the individuals who would love to hoard jewels. Or if suppose Venus is in a certain nakshatra, in a certain zodiac sign, they would love to collect things of history, right? So they just love to collect something. How much possession do they have in the form of articles? That's what decides how happy they are. That's in a way decides how not like happy, but that decides how much wealth they have. So that's what they want. Now, if you have Venus in the 12th house, sorry, second house, your spouse is going to be a very homely individual, and their focus would also be upon status, money, growth, future security, retirement plans. They would also have, inclination towards enjoyment, pleasure, what gives pleasure to the tongue. They are going to be very controlling over the finances as well, right? They would try to control your finances. They would try to control, if suppose this is in D9, second house Venus, they would try to control the finances of the whole household, like yours, their themselves. They would try to control that because Venus feels that I need to be prioritized. I need to be loved here, right? So your spouse also get their validation when they are able to manage your household or they are able to manage your finances. All right. And these people can do very well in financial sectors, anything to do with speech, anything to do with food industry, all right, and everything that the second house would represent and the zodiac sign present in the second house would represent. And there are chances that you meet your spouse through your family or through a family setup. Because trust me on this, I have seen people getting married to foreigners, complete different people. Like they have no association with your family. I've seen people with Venus in the second house to be getting married to a person with totally different tradition, totally different culture. Because second house is the house of culture. When you put Venus there, and maybe it is influenced by some other planet, that can be Mars, that can be Rahu, that can be any other planet influencing it, it can make you create or make you marry a person who is from a different culture. Because Venus coming into the second house is that your spouse will be very devoted to your culture. So you see, for example, sometimes there are, foreigners, like for example, a man, it is an Indian man and gets married to a foreigner woman. Women is now very much involved into the traditions and she's following all the Indian rituals. That's a man with Venus in the second house. But you need to see all the other dynamics also. All right. Now, the third house. When Venus is in the third house, these are the most creative people that you'll see. Like, these are the individuals who are very conscious of how they look. Their appearance would matter to them a lot. They are very skillful person, very creative, very artistic, and they love to establish romance through communication or even through social medias. So, with a Venus in the third house, a person can actually meet their spouse while suppose they are gymming or they meet their spouse in the neighborhood or they meet their spouse through their close friend, their close sibling, their close relative. So, third house is all about who is close to you, whether it's physically close or it's emotionally close. That's what third house is about. And Venus, when it is there, that means you can meet your spouse through any of these setups. And Venus in the third house also makes a person very fearful of relationships, especially very fearful of rejection. That's why, as a result, a person can, you know, before even something happens within a relationship, they can self reject the other person or themselves. That is also one of the tendencies of Venus in the third house. Because see, it comes into the domain of Gemini. It's wobbly, it's curious, it's never settling soon. It needs time to settle. It's an Upacha house. Venus coming there, it grows over time. So you can and you may go through a lot of relationships before you end up into a marriage. And you would desire a partner who can give you that validation and satisfaction with communication. Communication is your love language. Your skills are your love language. You making a painting for your spouse is your love language. You cooking for your spouse is your love language. So, Venus in the third house, it makes it very important that a person expresses themselves through their skills, through their hands, through their abilities, through their communication. You will always try to dominate your gurus. You will try to dominate your father as well, right? And as a result, you will understand that how important it is to have a balanced communication, not just in your relationships, but specifically with your father figures as well, with your spiritual teachers as well, right? So Venus in the third house, very creative, placement. Along with that, this is a person who would love to create through technology. So they love editing, they love learning about softwares, they love learning about creativity through online mediums. So that's also what you will see to be a part of third house Venus. But definitely, these individuals can have multiple relationships. But if this Venus is heavily afflicted, right? Maybe there is Jupiter, Saturn. These are going to be the people who might, have just very few or none relationships at all. Okay, the reason I'm mentioning in every step, I'm trying to mention the affliction also, because affliction with Venus actually turns the tables around. So that's why the predictions change. And I don't want you to feel that this is not matching with me. So what is this? All right. Now, Venus in the fourth house. So, Venus in the fourth house, Venus in moksha houses and in water signs is legacy creator. A person with Venus in the fourth house, whether it is a man or a woman, they love to create family. They love to create a very nurturing environment. They love to give that comfort and, that coziness to the other person. And they love to be nurtured. They love to be protected by their spouse, by their mother also. Their validation comes through the mother, through the nourishment also. Even if they are seeking for validation from their spouse, they would want that to come in a very nurturing way. These are the people who would just beautify their home. They would love to, have everything sorted within their home, everything in a beautiful manner in their home. These are the individuals in whom in their home, when you enter, you will feel that I have entered a beautiful place. And these people would always have some amount of cash within their home, especially within their bedroom. And they must have it to grow their wealth. They absolutely love to be comforted with articles of comforts. These are the most homely individuals. They want to create home. They want to make everyone feel at home. They are that nurturing, they are. All right. With Venus in the fourth house, it's a very strong position for learning astrology as well. This is a Venus which is intuitive also and also has research abilities. There are chances that you meet your spouse either through your homeland or through somehow connected to your mother's homeland. And it's even with the seventh house Venus. But somehow, situations or circumstances related to the fourth house, which is home, hotels, kitchen, anything of that sort can be there. With Venus in the fourth house, either you or your spouse has love for cooking or making the other person eat, even if you have not cooked it. But you'll be very considerate. You'll be very considerate of, whether the other person is eating well. You'll try to nurture them whenever someone is going to come to your home. You're very welcoming with your home. It's the natural second and the seventh lord coming into the fourth house. There are chances that you earn through work from home, creating something related to the home, or creating something with your research abilities. So astrologers could be with fourth house Venus. You can see creators from fourth house Venus. You can even see intuitive healers with fourth house Venus. Also educators, early educators, like working in kindergartens or working in schools, that could also be there. Then these are also the individuals with fourth house. They can be designers, architects, home designers, Vastu Shastra also, if Venus is somehow associated with Saturn or Jupiter or quadrant to them, right? So Venus in the fourth house. What else? A person is very close to the mother as well. Their mother would always want to know anything and everything, and they would also like to share everything with their mother, right? So you try to dominate others out there, right? Sometimes a person with Venus in the fourth house can actually be quite dominating for other people, but in a nurturing way. Like you see those individuals who feel, who know that yes, this is something that is, that is good for you. So whether you like it or not, I am going to do that for you. So that's the kind of Venus this fourth house Venus is. Their house, they would always have artistic things. Okay, one thing I forgot. A chart came into my mind of a person with Venus in the fourth house, and that's a man. I think they're almost 70 or 70 plus, and they have in their home they have a room where they have sculpted different figures within that room. So definitely, I've seen people with Venus in the fourth house. They have something, they have a corner within their home where they follow all their creative practices. For some people, they have a puja room, they have a meditation room within their home where they practice that. And they also go through transitions and transitions, especially with their spirituality. They can be people who can be too materialistic or too emotional with their relationships. But when the transition happens, especially in their 25th and 26th of age, or when Ketu transits over Venus, they definitely turn very spiritual and very spiritually mature. Their emotional intelligence increases. All right. Now, Venus in the fifth house. Venus in the fifth house, your soul is very much connected with your past life good deeds and your pitris. So, with Venus in the fifth house, it's not just that you're very creative, you're very artistic, you have the abilities to be a celebrity, to be a star. You do aspire to be that. But along with that, you have the greatest karma. Your soul is born with the greatest karma towards your pitris. All right. So with a person with Venus in the fifth house, these are the most clever people you'll see, most intelligent people you are see. They know how to balance the conflicts of their marriage. They know how to balance the person they are with. Venus in the fifth house, they desire, they long for romance, they long for admiration, they long for recognition, especially through the spouse. These are very creative and hopelessly romantic individuals that you'll see. But their marriage and their relationships always comes with drama because it's the natural domain of Leo. They will have interest into shares, speculations. They will have interest into gambling. It can be a short tenure into their long life when they have this, or it can be for lifelong, depends on the condition of Shukra. But definitely they have that longing for have to be for living like a king, to live like a king. These people are very, very knowledgeable, very good with the knowledge of astrology, very good at using astrology into speculative analysis. So, like you see those astrologers who mostly focus on evaluation and predictions of gold, diamonds, or like ornaments, investment point of view. Those are the ones who will have Venus either connected to Leo or connected to the fifth house, or even Moon could be connected to the fifth house. So, Venus in the fifth house, you always try to dominate your romantic life and your friend circle. And that's why you get mostly offended, or most of the conflict also comes around from your friend circle, from your social circle. Fifth house Venus can give you fame because you have a brilliant charm within your personality. You have brilliant intelligence, which is backed by intuition. And your soul feels happy, feels comforted when you are in a romantic relationship or when you are involved within the life of your children. Your devotion lies with your children. You want to create a legacy for your children. So it's a very loving placement for one's children, but it must not be afflicted. Otherwise, it can give ego battles, pride issues, and lack of similar opinion and heavy karma through children if this Venus is heavily afflicted. But Venus being into the domain of the fifth house, your children are your gurus. Your children make you learn the dunyadari, or how the world operates. And somehow it's also your college life within which you would learn how the world operates, how I have to be a mature person, how I have to save myself and not being taken granted and benefited from. Now, Venus in the sixth house. Oh, before that, Venus in the fifth house, you meet your spouse either through educational places or through gatherings or through concerts. Like you might have been to a concert, or you might have been to a same educational place, training place, or you meet her or him through their social circle, their friend circle. That could possibly be. And fifth house also, you might suppose, for example, you have Leo, Venus in the fifth house in Leo only. You meet your partner in a drama class. Anything. It can be a education place, academic education or creative education. All right. Now Venus in the sixth house. So it's said that Venus in the sixth house, it's a God's child. This is the placement of God's child. Although Venus is debilitated here, right? But Venus in the sixth house means that your love and devotion is expressed through service for all the relationships of your life. Why a person with Venus in the sixth house would have conflicts within the relationships? Because they are too involved within the relationship. Your devotion lies within the relationship. You have to be at service in the relationship. But sometimes when this Venus is afflicted, it's one-sided commitment, one-sided service. Definitely, if this Venus is not rightly placed, if the Lord of the sixth house is not well placed, you will be the one, or one of you in a relationship, one of the partners will be the one who is doing more than the other. And that's always the matter of conflict. Money is always the matter of conflict. So it isn't that the that Venus within the sixth house is not good. It is good, but the karma associated with it, it's a little heavier than all the other placements. Because here you have seen in your life and you have understood from what you have gotten by going out. You have seen people, you have interacted with so many people, and you understood that nothing comes for free, not even love. So with Venus in the sixth house, you become habitual of learning that I have to do something in order to receive love. I have to make the other person happy in order to receive the love. So it's kind of exchange. Although when Venus is exalted in the 12th house, it is one-sided devotion without any expectations. But with this Venus in the sixth house, there will be expectations. And that's why there will be arguments. That's why there will be debates. It can even activate romance within your workspace. Your devotion lies towards your health. Many women with Venus in the sixth house can have PCOD, PCOS. They can have issues with their reproductive system, their skin, and that is only because, and I tell those people who come to me with the charts of their small babies, children, and if I see Venus in the sixth house, I tell the mothers, I tell the fathers to take good care of their nutrition from a very, very young age. Because in that way, they would never go into the space where they have to struggle for their health, because their devotion lies into routine repetitive work. Their devotion lies into repetition, because that's what sixth house is about. Sixth house is nutrition. It's this disease, it's the solution to your disease as well. So with Venus in the sixth house, you will see people who are always conscious of their body, who are always conscious of their health. They have to work towards their health. They have to be service oriented towards their spouse. You may meet your spouse through your distant relatives, because sixth house is your distant relatives and especially your maternal side of the family. Sixth house is your colleagues, it's your workspace. You always have karma with women, especially at your workspace. You always have to be at service towards women with Venus in the sixth house, whether you are a man or you are a woman. How do you validate yourself? How do you feel good? You feel validated only when you are being of use to someone. You're being helpful. You're being at service. When you are fulfilling and winning the competition, the most competitive people you'll see with Venus in the sixth house. They always want to be the first. They always want to win. They are very precise people. They are good with skills. They're good with calculations. But of course, the relationship struggles here because it's the sixth house. It's the house of obstacles. There are obstacles that you go through within your romantic relationship. All right. And also, for a person with Venus in the sixth house, since it's the natural second house coming into your sixth house, you either can also be a part of healthcare, medical professions, or you can be a part of banks, loans, debts, or somehow associated with data, calculations, or precisions, negotiations. You will have to deal with that because your Venus is in the sixth house. Now, Venus in the seventh house. When you have Shukra in the seventh house, you have a very attractive spouse. And you always want to be in a unionship, in a relationship. The identity of people with the seventh house Shukra establishes only when they are in a relationship. So it's like they cannot be left alone. They cannot live alone. Their marriage would decide how their peace of mind would establish. So marriage becomes very important. It's like it's the past life desire that you are here to fulfill through marriage. And marriage naturally activates a lot of things in your life: progress, wealth, money, fortune. That is activated through marriage. Your spouse will be very charming. Your spouse will be very, very attractive. People will just be attracted to them. And even you look for an attractive spouse. You look for a spouse who can give you the validation, who can be supportive of you, who can help you balance your name, your fame, and your relationships. But sometimes I have seen with a seventh house Venus, since the energy of Shukra is so high, these people can sometimes take decisions very quickly in regards of marriage. So I always tell, because this is the planet in the seventh house, it can create Karkanash Bhava. So if Venus is in the seventh house, it is exalted. It is in its own sign, like either Taurus or Libra, or it is in a very supportive position, but sitting alone. Then I don't recommend anyone to get married before 26th year. And especially in their 25th, 26th year, I don't recommend them to get married. And if they get married before that, it is going to be definitely probably in their young age, like 21, 22, some like before 25. They would either end up in divorce, or they can even end up in separation. Or your marriage works, but with a lot of ups and downs and obstacles, and then it progresses, it gets better, grows after 25, 26 year of age. The reason behind this is that Venus is the sexual planet. In the seventh house, it craves for unionship. And sometimes when you crave for something, you're not going to be in that rational mind where you would think upon something before you do an action. So at certain positions, Venus can create such a quick decision with marriage. And like, I can give you examples. I remember one person who has Venus in the 7,000 Taurus, and this individual got married really, really soon, but it was a contract marriage. And that contract marriage was basically for the sake of only getting the residency of that country. And later down the lane, it got them into legal battles because sixth house was very strong, and there were certain planets. I don't remember exactly, but in some way, sixth house did have a connection, and they basically the legal matter stretched. Then divorce was not easy. And I think it was Venus and Mars in the seventh house. Yeah, it was Venus and Mars. And like in one of the cases, I remember there was a Rashi Parivartan Yog between the sixth and the seventh house. Venus was in the seventh house in Gemini, and Mercury was in the sixth house in Taurus. So it was a Rashi Parivartan Yog. They got married in the age of 22. No, no, sorry, 23, and he got so much of complication with the first few years of marriage. They even got separated, like not divorced but separated, but came back together. That's because of the Rashi Parivartan Yog, that the marriage was saved. All right. So that's why with a seventh house Venus, especially if it is in very much dignity and not conjunct with any planet, not supported by any planet, not even the support from the sixth house or eighth house. There should be planets first and, on in the 12th and second from Venus to make it have support, and especially benefics would work well there. Then only the marriage can be supportive. So, because of so much of sexual energy, the person might end up getting married just by looking into that. Yes, this person is good for me. This person is beautiful. Let's get married. And they don't rationalize the pros and cons. And that's the lesson that they get then. And further, they become individuals who would want to balance their relationships. There's always an urge to do business with seventh house Venus. And your money and income comes from business, comes from partnership. So Venus in the seventh house can actually create good partnership. A person would, your partner needs most of your attention. Your partner loves to socialize. They need your attention. And when they do not get your attention, they would end up getting offended. And that's when the problem arises. It's not a serious problem with Venus, of course, but that's the matter of conflict between two people with Venus in the seventh house. All right. And Venus being in the seventh house, your devotion has to be towards partnership, towards your business, and towards your spouse. Your finances will go towards the spouse. The more you provide your partner, the more you pamper them, make them travel, spend on them, the more you are going to have, multiply your wealth. But most of the times, with Venus in the seventh house, your spouse will be spendthrift. Your spouse would want all the luxuries and would want to stay in, comforts all the time. That's why they can be extremely lazy upon doing certain things in their own life. And for that, you need to see the conjunction also. If this Venus is afflicted, then it's the karma of your spouse to do something in their life to grow. You can meet your spouse either at a distance, or you can meet at a wedding, or there can be someone associated. You can even meet the person in an arranged setup. You can meet your partner in wedding of someone else. But in the meeting, there has to be people associated because it's the seventh house of other people, seventh house of marriages, contracts. All right. Now, Venus in the eighth house. Venus in the eighth house is a legacy creator. This person would definitely leave a legacy for their children or for the others, as in they will be known for their skills. They will be known for something, like even after they leave this world. Venus in the eighth house makes you very, very sensitive when it comes to your relationships, and especially the sexual relationship. Once you enter a sexual relationship, once your relationship turns into a sexual relationship, it becomes a very sensitive topic for you because you fear being rejected with intimacy. Intimacy becomes very important for a person with Venus in the eighth house. You will see a person with a Venus in the eighth house, most probably, most of the individuals at some point in their life when this Venus gets highly activated, like whether it is being transited by Ketu over Venus or it's the Mahadasha, Antardasha, Pratyantardasha. You will be so desperately wanting the sexual intimacy that you might look for relationship to just get that, intimacy. But you turn out to be the most spiritual person. You transform into the most spiritual person because your sexual relationships actually lead to your spirituality. Women, whether you are a male or you are a female, for males, this Venus in the eighth house would you be like out of a romantic relationship or out of a physical relationship. That's what led you towards your transformation. If you are a female, it can be a partner, and it can also be a female. It's not just a sexual encounter or a romantic encounter with a female, but any female in your life can be the catalyst of your transition, of changing your life. These people have the ability to go from rags to riches. But one thing is there, they are never deprived of money. Especially if this Venus is in dignity, it's somehow conjunct or aspected by Jupiter, Moon. Your devotion lies towards your in laws, and somehow you do seek for validation from your in laws. But if this Venus is highly afflicted, there will be a self victimization between either it's from your side or it's from your in-laws side. But it is extremely important for you to be devoted towards your in-laws because the luxury, the comforts come to you because of your in-laws. You always try to balance your fixed assets, your secrets. This person with Venus in the eighth house will be the most secretive person about their relationships. And it's not that they are born secretive with their relationships. They have had experiences which has forced them to be secretive about their relationships, their money, their wealth, because they have seen that people in their surroundings have not been the best. When they get to know about their progress, their relationship, or their wealth, you will always try to dominate the finances. Your partner, specifically for a male, your partner will grow your finances by dominating and controlling all the finances. If this Venus is afflicted, then they would control your assets for their own selfish purpose. But this Venus, if beautifully placed, even if placed with Ketu, actually, that's a beautiful Venus. Venus and Ketu. It definitely makes you go through tremendous amount of heartbreak and then transitioning into another person with Venus and Ketu in the eighth house. But your partner will create your wealth. Your partner will grow your wealth by, organizing it, growing it. So Venus in the eighth house, I think it's a beautiful placement, but a person would in their life go through addiction issues. They will be addicted to the dark side of the world. They will be addicted to the materialistic side of the world. And at some point, when the transition happens, either by Ketu's transit or by Venus's activation, or after 25, 26, whichever is most effective, or whichever is shown in the dasha also, that's when that spirituality hits in, and you have the potential to become excellent astrologer and be in occult in. Also, with Venus in the eighth house, marriage brings in 360-degree change within your life. Because it's the eighth house, it's the house of sudden changes. It's the house of changes within the dynamics of a person, whether good or bad, depending on how your Venus is placed. This Venus activation, whether it activates through the dasha, or it activates through the transit, or straightforwardly with your marriage, there is going to be a 360-degree change that you are going to experience in your wealth, in your surroundings, in even your physical location, if it suggests that. But definitely there's a change. All right. So Venus in the eighth house is actually very, very intense placement. And here a person is so intensely in love. The way that they express their love is through sexual intimacy. That's why it becomes very important. And their validation comes from in-laws and also through their intimacy of between them and their spouse. So that matters a lot for them. Now, Venus in the ninth house. So one thing, whenever I see Venus in the ninth house, since ninth house, Venus is the guru of the Asuras, in the ninth house, it makes you have a life which is a lot about push and pull. One thing I've seen very common with Venus in the ninth house, these people are oblivion about spirituality or ethics or what is ethically right or what is an ethical connection or what do they have to do, what are their duties. They are totally oblivion about it in the early age of their life. Especially on an average, you can say till 25th and 26th of age. And as soon as they hit this age, they transition into a total spiritual, total ethical individual. Venus in the ninth house is again, just like Venus in the sixth house, is a God's child. They are never deprived of bhagya, luck, and divinity. Although this is a house ruled by Jupiter, but Venus does really well in the ninth house because it will never make you be deprived of money and luxury, at least before your marriage. After your marriage, it depends how your Venus is in the D9 chart. But marriage does activates your bhagya. Now, if that is permanent, you have to check Venus's position in the Navamsha. Or whether it's temporary, that also Navamsha would decide. But a ninth house Venus, these individuals go through a strong pull and push in a relationship. They would always have a fun. They always have a very optimistic and fun outlook to relationships. Right? And there's a theme which goes on with them. Whenever they are in a relationship, they would have all the good times, like being friends, being two hippies together, doing this thing, that thing, adventure, and whatnot. As soon as things get serious, they start, the other person starts distracting, they're detaching, sorry. And when the other person starts detaching, even though they do not actually have love towards them, they would start running behind them just because they are fearful that of abandonment. And that's the push that they get. And the more they go behind the other person, the more they would detach. Only for them to feel the intense hurt, for them to identify that watery tattva with Shukra. And that gives them the lesson of how this world operates, the dunyadari, the understanding of the world, the maturity of relationships. And when they understand that, they get that karma, they come back in their power. And when they come back in their power, the people who have hurt them at one point, they are going to start coming back. Because these are the most helpful people. If they are there to support you, they are there to support you. They will do everything to support you and stand by you. But if once you trouble this person and this person detaches themselves emotionally from you, there's no going back. You cannot win this person again because they have given you plenty of moments to win them. This is the most vulnerable position in love. Their devotion lies towards gurus, their father. They always would try to dominate the communication. They would always try to skillfully express themselves. They are very good writers. They have very good sense of humor. They're very creative. They love to connect with their spirituality in a very creative manner. They have their own sense of spirituality. Their gurus, their father, basically makes them learn about what the world is about, what diplomacy is about, and how it is so important. So it's a journey for a ninth house Venus person that they start from a very materialistic person, all about enjoyment, can sometimes be brat people as well. But then they transition spiritually. They transition into such an ethical person who value the spirituality, who value ethics, who value karma. With ninth house Venus, you may meet your spouse by the recommendation of a priest or someone who is elder or respectable. Your partner may also belong to a distance, especially for males. Their partner would belong to a distance or come from a distance. There's always an issue with Venus in the ninth house between them and their spouse, that their spouse would require the most amount of freedom. And you always have an instilled fear of being neglected from the spouse. So freedom becomes very important in the relationship. And Venus in the ninth house is the relationship that you have is actually guided by wisdom. It is guided spiritually. So the more you'll try to possess it, the more you'll try to control it, the more complicated your relationship would be. The more you'll give freedom, the more your relationship will be based on faith, trust on each other, the more it flourishes, the more your bhagya uday happens. Your spouse themselves can be a very spiritual. I'm not talking about religious. It's not important they are religious. They can definitely be religious, but they're highly spiritual. They desire freedom. They are optimistic. They are very knowledgeable. They are a guru to you. They will always guide you. They'll always try to scold you on the little things that you do because they want you to get better. That's the way they guide. They're going to act like a Jupiter in the form of Venus. So there are so many things we can talk about with Venus's placement because Venus represents so many things. It represents your soul relationship, it represents your partner, right? But we will keep that for individual videos. Here, we have to cover all the 12 zodiac signs. And then your person, your partner can be involved into education related professions. They can be involved into spiritual professions. They can be involved into medical or research fields, travel. All right. Now, Venus in the 10th house. I personally think that Venus in the 10th house is a difficult position, but it's the position for a courage heart. It's a placement for a person. Just one. So sorry for the interruption. So Venus in the 10th house, it's a difficult position for Venus because here Venus has a lot of obligation towards the society. Their devotion and their priority has to be their career. And there's always issues with authority. Authority, as in between you and your spouse. There will always be issues between authority or career or ambition. But it's a struggle to express yourself. It's a struggle to establish relationship because that's what karma is about. 10th house is your karma. And when Venus comes here, you definitely do extremely well in your career. You generate your wealth by your own effort, by your own karmic actions. You have such a strong presence in the society. People admire you. You look for admiration from people. You look for validation from people, from your authorities, from people in power. And you thrive for power. You want to be powerful. You want to have and create a good status and lifestyle for yourself. But in all of this thing, what suffers is the relationship because there are power struggles that you deal with in your relationship. Especially, there are issues with authorities who are female, whether you are a male or a female, and especially if this Venus is afflicted, you will always have issues with females. Females are not, I would say, as your colleagues, but those who are working above you. They will always try to dominate you. If you are a male, that is more intense because it's not just the female who is working ahead of you in your career, but it's also your partner who is going to be very authoritative. So that's why Shukra in the 10th house is a bit of struggle in relationships, but it will grow you big time with your career. You do very well with your Venus in the 10th house, your second and the seventh lord goes into the 10th house. There are possibilities with Venus in the 10th house that you marry a person who will have same career as yours. And since this Venus is fourth from the seventh house, there are troubles because of laziness of your partner, because of commanding nature of your partner. Although your partner, if this Venus is in a softer sign, your partner would always want to establish a home, a beautiful home with you. But the power struggles and you being picky of how they are doing things, what they are doing, whether they are doing or not, whether they are ambitious or not, So, fighting over from either of the side, whether it's from your side or from your partner side, but either one of you will always pinpoint these things, and that will be the matter of the conflict. Venus in the 10th house, these people do very well into professions which are either creative in nature or it's about creation. Like for example, a person is not a fashion designer, they are not a designer of clothes, but they are basically the ones responsible for how the clothes are going to be organized in a showroom. So somehow, one way or the other, creative part or things related to Venus will be associated with your career. You may meet your spouse through your career or through their career. Even your career flourishes. You might get promoted, you might receive promotion as soon as you get married. If things are stuck within your career and they're not moving, marriage may trigger that. Although it is always important to be devoted towards your service towards the society and towards the career for a happy marriage life. And there's one more thing. Logically, Venus is a nighttime planet. That's why it's Digbali in the fourth house. Now, when it goes into the 10th house, that means you're putting a nighttime planet into the extreme sunlight. This planet is burning, but it still has to exist. It has to do its karma, but it's burning at the same time. That's why Venus gets uncomfortable here. If fourth house Venus is the mother who provides food for you by cooking for you, then this is the mother who provides the money to bring that food in your home. So that's why your partner might not say, I love you to you, or you might not say, I love you to your partner every day, but you will do that with your actions. You will do that with your commitment. And that's the point which you and your partner must understand for a growth, sorry, for a growing marriage life, for a beautiful marriage life. Because Venus in the 10th house has the potential to make a power couple. But at the same time, since it's the sign of Saturn, it's the sign of restriction, growth, slow movement, slow growth. It doesn't make it happen easily. And I've seen people with Venus in the 10th house. Of course, the seventh house, seventh lord also is an additional factor to this, but they do have delays in marriage. They do have struggles finding the right partner because they are not there to entertain everyone. They are selective with whom they are expressing themselves. They have restriction with their expression of love. But definitely the most devoted people you'll see out there. And even your creativeness is also very structured. You are very old school, but you love to be old school. You love to introduce that side of yours as your career as well. All right. Now, Venus in the 11th house. So, with Venus in the 11th house, you ask for validation from the society. If this Venus is afflicted, if it is hemmed in planets, you'll be very cautious of what you are getting. If you're very cautious and very, focused on your desires. Venus in the 11th house definitely makes you gain through your partner, gain through your marriage. But somehow, validation of others, especially your social circle, the people you know, that matters you for you a lot. And there's always a transition with Venus in the 11th house. You would find the hardest time to express the eccentricity that you have with relationships. So that's why you take time to actually open up and show the real you with Venus in the 11th house. You desire a partner with whom you can grow, you can be recognized, you can be a part of the society. Venus in the 11th house, your money comes from your social circle, your social association, or MNCs, corporates, large organizations. You will have to represent yourself in order to create your wealth, create your legacy. You will have to do something innovative to create that wealth and legacy. You get married to a partner who somehow is associated to your social circle, whether it's your social circle or it's your family's social circle. Your devotion lies towards your elder sibling. There will always be a sense of dominance with your elder sibling. You will always try to dominate, and you'll always try to, like, all of your energy either goes into your romantic self, your romantic relationships, or towards your children. You always try to balance your relationship with the children at the same time being recognized for your career. But when you do not get the attention, you do not get the appreciation that you know that you deserve, you get offended, you get easily irritated. And if your children do not appreciate you, if your children do not give you the attention, do not make you the priority, that's the trigger point of your disappointment. Your devotion lies for the social service. You must do social service because 11th house is not just the society, it's not just the social circle, it's also the philanthropy work. It's also where you give something to the others. It's also the welfare of the society. So if you are contributing some part of your wealth there, you are going to see wonders, multiplication of your recognition and wealth. Venus in the 11th house, their friends matter to them. Their friends' opinion matter to them. If this Venus is highly afflicted, then you will have just a few friends that you depend upon. All right. And also, your partner could be into a profession where he or she has to be a part of the limelight or corporate world or society, anything that associates with the 11th house. But definitely, they potentially marry the person that they already know at the time of marriage. Like before marriage, they already are introduced to that individual. It could be a love marriage, but we cannot say that completely until unless we know the whole chart. But you feel happy, you feel satisfied, you feel good when you are able to fulfill your desires. All right. Now, Venus in the 12th house. So, just like Venus in the fourth house, eighth house, Venus in the 12th house is also a beautiful placement to have. But Venus in the 12th house makes you go through the feeling of losing in love or loss of love. Venus in the 12th house, it's hardly that you'll see that they have fulfilled their desires of love initially. Definitely, they get married. When they get married, they are the ones who would not seek for luxury, who would not seek for money and love. It just comes to them. Venus in the 12th house. I remember once while in my early learning phase, I heard it somewhere when Venus is in the 12th house, even if you don't have a single penny in your pocket, you still will travel the whole world. That's how that's how powerful Venus in the 12th house is. Your devotion lies towards the ultimate God, not towards any person, but to the ultimate God. And once you understand, you acknowledge that your devotion lies to the ultimate God, you start identifying your own devoted self. And that's how you become devoted to everyone in your life, each and every relationship in your life. It's the second sign of Jupiter. So the pull and push also happens here. Till the time you're contributing into a relationship, you'll be taken for granted. And as soon as you detach yourself or you come back into your power, the other person will start appreciating you. They will start recognizing your worth. That's the pull and push that happens with Venus in the 12th house. Your money could come from foreign sources, foreign government, or foreign people. You have a karma strongly associated with foreign lands. So you might be living in your own homeland, in your own country, but you will definitely be interacting with people overseas or people from different countries or different ethnic backgrounds. 12th house Venus is actually the most competitive Venus you'll see. You love to compete and you love to win the competition. And when you do not win the competition, or if you are neglected somehow by anyone, you feel that churning of your emotions. You feel that burning on the inside. Venus in the 12th house is the kind of Venus which makes you cry for the god, makes you cry while listening to the mantra of the God that you believe in. It's such a beautiful, devoted Shukra. You love to be a part of intimacy. You love to be loved. Whenever you are in love, you're on a different plane. You feel that your soul has elevated. That's how being in love makes you feel. And the most heartbreaks will also be caused for Venus in the 12th house. And when the heartbreaks come, the reaction is everyone, and specifically the partner who has received your love, will say that I have not seen this side of yours, because then your anger comes out. Then your dissatisfaction self comes out, that I have given you my world. Because for a person with a Venus in the 12th house, when they are in love, their world surrounds around that person. That's how they are in love. This individual can also be a sweet tooth, like they can have sweet tooth. most probably, and they have to always control their sugar levels. These people always have to actively give their energy into their routine repetitive work and into their health as well, because internally or bodily wise they are a little weaker, so they always have to take care of that. These people are extremely lazy because they love their personal space. These are the individuals who love and are able to express beautifully, artistically, creatively in their own isolated world. They love to create a place within their home. They love to create a space for themselves, which makes them feel comfortable, protected. Now they seek validation not from a living significance, but from the God, from their spouse, their partner. They preach their partner as if they are God to them. Of course, if it is afflicted, then it will add on a lot of negative flavors to this condition. But the fundamental situation is the same. Venus in the 12th house, they love to be a part of bed pleasure. And they are very sensitive about their sexual encounters, sexual intimacy. They value their sexual relationship. And for a person with Venus in the fourth house, eighth house, 12th house, intimacy is most important to them. Sexual relationship is most important to them. If those relationships are healthy within their marriage works beautifully. If it is not, then it is a matter of concern. With 12th house Venus, it is not necessary that your partner will belong to a foreign country or will be a foreigner. They will belong to a distance. They will introduce you towards spirituality, especially with Venus in the ninth house and Venus in the 12th house. They themselves are going to be very, very helpful, service oriented people, your partner, your spouse, and they will always try to provide you. But again, just very similar to what we talked about Venus in the ninth house, they desire the freedom. Because, see, 12th house is a very dual house. This is the house which has the potential to set up boundaries as if you are isolated in a particular island, or it can even be the ocean which doesn't have any boundaries and which can expand how many times possible. So, Shukra in the 12th house, since it's your subconscious mind always desires unionship. Your subconscious mind always desires you to be a part of something creative. Your passion, your hobby, and what you would like to do in your free time, that is something creative, something associated with Shukra, which is also astrology. And for a person with 12th house Venus, they have such a charming aura. And even their spouse is very, very attractive because people find them very positive. Of course, it shouldn't be highly afflicted. But you do struggle with love. You do struggle with abandonment issues all your life. But once you learn that lesson, once you reach the end of your karma, you will get romance of the lifetime. because relationship matters to you a lot consciously and subconsciously. See, subconscious mind is not in our control. So any planet that comes into the 12th house, that's not in our control, right? And that's why it adds on as a part of our nature. Okay, guys? So, this was my analysis about Venus through all the 12 houses. I hope it has given you good insights into this topic and helped you in whatever way possible. We'll see you with the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.